Okay, today I would like to just run through the different parts of the SPA practical. So this is actually already presented in the first lesson that I have with you. So first of all, let us just go through what is being assessed, especially in your strand 1 and strand 2 of your SPA practical. So first of all, of course, you have to conduct the experiment when you're given the practical question. So for the conducting of the experiment, basically what is being tested is your experimental skills. Okay. So in this part of the video, I'm not going to explain about the experimental skills. In fact, I'm going to go straight into the second part, which is the presentation of the recorded data. So what happens is that after you conduct the experiment, you will record the data from, let's say, the length of the ruler or the time taken for 10 or 20 oscillation. So how do you present this recorded data will be explored in this particular video. So usually the presentation of data is recorded in a table form. Okay. After you have recorded this data, there will be a next video which I'm going to explain to you how and you should plot the graph. Alright. So the graph plotting is a very important part of the SPA practical, and you need to do a good one. And then lastly, from the graph, we will get some information like the gradient or the y-intercept, where we need to calculate, and then we need to make conclusions. The conclusions are pretty standard. It's usually referring to the relationship between two variables, and of course the last one is what are the sources of error. Okay, so for the first part, we're going to explain about the presentation of the recorded data in a table form. So I would like you to refer to this set of checklists. So this checklist that have been given to you in the previous lesson, okay, is very important that you check after you have done your work whether you have fulfilled all the requirements that is in this checklist. So if you look at the items 1 to 5, items 1 to 5 actually are for the recording of data in a table, as mentioned in the previous part, the introduction. Alright, then from 6 to 9 is actually for the calculation of the data, and then finally 10 to 12 is for conclusion. Calculation and conclusion is the next part of the video, which will not be presented in this particular video. Alright, so let's look at 1 to 5. So in 1 to 5, basically the first thing is that you need to know what are the variables or what are the information that you need to collect in your table. For example, in the pendulum experiment, you want to collect the length of the pendulum and the time taken for 10 or 20 oscillation. So you will end up having length, time, and then you know that you need the period. So you will have to divide the time taken for 10 oscillation by 10 to get a period, which I will explain in more detail later. Alright, so the second one is actually the how you present the data in the table is you need to put the correct variables, then you need to put the slash here. For example, slash centimeter to indicate the units, alright, slash seconds to indicate the time. And then you need to know that if, let's say, you are expected to plot a linear line, you are supposed to have 5 data sets, while if you are having a curved line, you're supposed to have 8 data sets. For the range, basically, if let's say you're given a 1 meter length of pendulum, you have to try to use up to 80% of the range of the pendulum. For example, if the pendulum length is 1 meter, try to use the 70 or 80 cm. Alright, this will give a more higher accuracy as compared to, let's say, you only use from 20 to 30 cm of the length. Then lastly, the precision of data, you need to know this. Measure data, you follow the precision of the instrument, which I will show you later. And then calculated data, you need to use 3 significant figures. Okay. So for the precision, let's go on to the next piece of worksheet that I've given you also in the previous lesson. So I'm not going to run through all the precision of all the instruments. I'm just going to deal with some of the more important ones that you're going to be looking at now. First of all, you are going to measure the length of the pendulum using the meter rule. So you already know this in lower secondary that the precision of a meter rule is 0.1 centimeter. But let's say you want to record this in terms of meters. Would you put it as 0.1 meters? No, right? Because if you want to record this in meters, you need to divide by 100. So you'll become 0.001 meter. So be careful about how you record, because if you want to record in meters, it has to be 3 decimal place. Now let's look at the next thing. For the stopwatch, you need to record in terms of 2 decimal place, alright? Because if you have observed carefully, our stopwatch in the school is to 2 decimal place of a second. Now for the rest of the information, I need you to read yourself. I'm not going to go into detail because today we are just going to have this recording and this recording in your table. Okay, so next we will go on to your table. So this is how you record on your table. Make sure you you remember that every information must be recorded on a clean piece of foolscap paper and not on the worksheet itself. Okay, and then you realize that I only have 5 columns, which indicate that I already know that I only need to have 5 data sets. How do I know this? I know this is because the question asked me to find the gradient. This is a telltale sign that the plotting of the graph is going to be a linear line, because only a linear straight line is going to give you a gradient. So once you see the question asking you to find a gradient, you know that it's a straight line and you will have 5 data sets. Okay, I'm not going to go into the curved line now. I just want you to know this. So you will have 5 rows. Okay, each row is 1 data set. Now the second thing we need to check is again the headers. You know that you're going to measure the period at different length. So the first column is your length. Okay, please refrain from writing such thing as length / centimeter. Okay, all these variables here must be written in only symbol form. So if the question say that it is x, length x, you must write x, that's it. Do not write length x. If they say time t1, you must put t1. Do not put time t1. Okay, so this is how you present it. X, t1, t2, t average, big T for period, big T square for the square of the period. Okay, so this one is square. Alright, so the next thing is that you must put slash centimeter, alright, slash second, slash second, slash second, slash second, and slash second square for all the readings, because the units must be put on the header, right? So this is how you are supposed to present the data. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the table again. So as you have already gone through the initial part of the table, we have already recorded the correct headers in the table. So if you have recorded correct headers in the table, you give yourself a tick. Alright, then the second one is the correct units in the headers, which you have already done so. X is slash centimeter, T is slash seconds. So you give yourself a tick. So let's go back to the table again. So in this case, I've used one of your friend's data to see whether we can explain the whole table to you using the data. So as you have remember just now when I show you the precision of the instrument, so this is recorded using a meter rule. These two are recorded using the stopwatch. So all these three are what we call measured data, measured from instrument. Right. So if these data are measured from instrument, it must follow the precision. Alright, so do you remember what's the precision of the length? So as I already show you here, the precision of the length must be 1 decimal place of centimeter, right? Which is well presented here. Okay, just to take note, as I mentioned in the just now, is that if you want to record this in meters, you cannot put 1 decimal place. It must be 3 decimal place in meters. All right. Do you remember this? I hope you do. Okay, then the next tool is this, which is the digital stopwatch. So the digital stopwatch, as you have already seen from the table of precision, is 2 decimal place. Okay, so this is how you need to record the information. All right, and look at the range of the data. You realize that the student has used a very wide range. Instead, she was given about 1 meter length of the pendulum, and she used up to 80 cm of it. Now, when you have a very wide range, okay, you will have more accurate results. So let's go back to the rubrics again. Okay, so next is we have collected 5 data sets, all right, because we know that it is a linear line, as they are asking us to find the gradient. So put a tick for this. The range, she has used about 80% of the length, so put a tick to this. All right, so we already have 4 ticks out of 5 for the table, which is a very good progress. So the last thing before I calculate all these other values that I need to stress to you is that if you look at this data here, we do not put any units. That means I don't put 20.0 cm, I don't put 10.47 seconds. The reason is because you have already wrote here, this header, this column is all in centimeters. This column is all in seconds. This column are all in seconds. So you don't have to put any units here. All right. So inside the raw data, you don't have to put any units. Okay. Now the next question to you is that these 3 values, T average, period, and T square, are they calculated or measured values? They are calculated. So if they are calculated values, if you look back at your rubrics, okay, you will realize that under the item 5, measured values follow precision of instrument, but calculated values, we will always put 3 significant figures. All right, so all this data need to be in 3SF. Okay, so before I show you the results, I want you to try yourself before you move on to the next part of the video. So you may pause the video at this point. Okay, so let's go back to the data. So if you have already calculated your answers, you should have all these three columns in three significant figures, the average will be just divided by 2 of these two data here. Alright, so 10.6 and so on and so forth. So t, which is your period, will be then divided by 10, okay, and then t square will be the square of this data. Alright, so all this data must be calculated in three significant figures. After that, if you have done this, right, you have basically fulfilled all the requirements, and you can put a tick for the fifth item, which is the correct precision for both the measured and calculated values, and you have fulfilled the requirements for the table. Alright, so next, just a side note is that, for example, for this data here, your answer from calculator will be 2.5, but please take note that 2.5 is not 3SF. So please do not write 2.5 as 3SF, just write 2.5 without the 0 behind. Alright, that is wrong. You need to write 2.50 to fulfill the 3SF requirement. Alright, so this is something that you need to be very careful with. Okay, this is a common error by students. Okay, so this is the end of the first video. So in the second video, we will go on to the graph, which is going to be quite challenging. On the next page of your checklist, you will have all the items for the graph, which you will use, alright, to have a very good graph plotting. Alright, so for this part of the video is goodbye for now. Okay, see you in the next video. Thank you.